to ask Rafah, where your problems and dilemmas are answered and discussed. I have a letter here that I got from a Zelda, kind of explaining to me that she feels very trapped by her overbearing mother. She feels that she hasn't for many, many years, doesn't get on with her and doesn't like her mother, and the fact that although she believes to have a really good childhood, she hasn't done anything wrong. And in fact, I ad-libbed there by saying that she believes. Okay, she actually has written she's got a good childhood. But I find her negative and very judgmental, and she sees her time with her mother as an endurance test and can't often wait to feel that she needs to leave or get out, and also comes away feeling very deflated. Apparently her mother is 79, fit and able-bodied and very active, and belongs to many, many groups, social groups, okay? But she also finds her mother gets jealous of her when she tells her what she's been up to, and feels that by her mother showing some sort of jealousy, that she really rather not see her at all. And although she tries to manage her time by seeing her mother only once a week for coffee, she feels that her mother actually would like her to be calling her every day, just as much as actually going on holiday, which Zelda can't bear the idea of that happening. Okay, she also says that her mother has on several occasions slammed the phone down, and she also goes on to explain a bit about her mother's situation, that her father had died, which is obviously Zelda's mother's husband, 20 years ago, and while Zelda also has a brother, he lives in America, so she is actually the only sole carer of her mother, because she lives in the UK while her brother is out in the States. Now she's got 2 children, which she feels that she gets on very well with, an older daughter and a 17-year-old son who is from her current partner after her first marriage, okay, from a previous marriage. So in fact the 17-year-old is from her current partner. She also concludes her letter by sometimes saying that sometimes she really would rather get away, but she really feels guilty if she does that, and she's in her 50s, working and experiencing the menopause, and basically she feels really, really trapped. So I'm really sorry, Zelda, for your experience here about your overbearing mother, and I feel that this topic actually is very relatable for a lot of people. I think I would say a good 40 to 60% of people have experienced, and if not more, a very overbearing parent, a tyrannical mother, and a parent that basically we feel is very overbearing on making demands and everything else. Now, I firstly want to sort of point out that possibly your mother is actually sort of, you say you had a good childhood, and I don't want to question that, although I somehow doubt that your childhood was as good as you remember it to be. But I'll just park that thought for a minute. But I'm just wondering, now that your mother has been on her own, sort of unmarried, she hasn't re-wedded, for 20 years since your father's died. So I'm going to just definitely sort of suggest that she probably had your father as the companion and her partner, her husband, where she was able to offload, maybe show more of her judgmental side, her negative side, which is an area that you actually sort of highlighted, that you find her being like that. I'm going to assume, based on your children's age as well, that you have left home at a relatively young age, so you wouldn't have possibly experienced your mother on a long-term basis of her overbearingness, okay? I'm getting a sense in some way that the first thing you really need to do is communicate to her what you need to do. You need to definitely speak up. You definitely need to speak up. Yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to put my iPad on for the chakra bit. I feel that you definitely need to speak up so that you can actually express to her what is really going on for you, how you're feeling, and let her know that things need to change, because it's up to you to actually make that really clear for her. Now, because she is quite overbearing, all right, I'm going to also assume that you're going to find that quite tricky to do, okay? So the first thing I've suggested here is you need to speak up. Okay, I sketched out already, which is something I don't normally do, about certain areas of your chakra system that I could already ensure that you are struggling with or is being affected as we speak. Okay, let me just give you a bit of a lowdown here. The tribal area, which is this bit here, is where we naturally all are born into. This is where we start life. This is where first breath of life is taken, and we're naturally pulled into the tribe, the laws of the family, how the family is, how it's structured, how the behaviors are projected from our parents and our expectations and everything. Somewhere along the way, when we get into a more sort of a younger, beyond the toddler age, we are integrating more as an individual with our family, and somewhere from that level, which is here, your sacral chakra, your value system, how you were treated at home would have been forged. Now I'm also going to take a bit of a guess here, and quite with certainty as well, that you have a sense of valuelessness that was imposed on already in your relating in your subconscious with your family, and particularly your mother. Okay, and I'll come back to that and why I say. You're also feeling currently very powerless. So this bit here, your solar plexus, which is not naturally golden, is definitely being affected. Your power, you feel a sense of powerlessness, and you feel trapped, which are very big indications for me about your lack of power and a sense of footing that you have in your own being. Now your heart can be affected as well, of course, here, because you are feeling resentful and also very fearful about the fact that you feel trapped, and there's a sense of imbalance of giving and taking, and I think that your mother is much of a taker than a giver, clearly, from how she spends her time and how she makes you feel. All right, so I'm just going to erase all this for now. Oops. And we shall come back to this. So let me pick up where I left off about the advice I'd like to give you and go straight into it. I really feel that in some way you need to communicate this with her, which is what I've already said. Okay, please communicate. Now I also suggest, and I really feel that this is something that I can help you with to bring some awareness into this vlog, but you really could do with seeing a therapist or doing some work with somebody like myself, which will work with the chakras and also dissolve some of your childhood conditioning that has brought you to this level. Because what your mother has over you is she definitely has control. All right, she definitely has the puppet strings. You know, she's the one who's manipulating how you feel, how and you're reacting to how she behaves towards you. The fact that she's, you mentioned that she slams the phone down, sorry, on you, also is a very typical manipulative behavior. Okay, when people do that, firstly they get to a point that they can't actually sort of maybe speak in a moment. I think we've all slammed the phones down. I know I have, and I've got frustrated, go bam. But normally that's a sense of, because I'm not owning my power, or being able to step back and be able to sort of communicate something that I might want to say. But if somebody does slam the phone down quite regularly in that way, it is a form of control. Also, if somebody just walks out the room or something, just dislocates the communication. Okay, it is a form of control, which I think that you are actually really suffering from. These are very much deep-rooted issues that I think from your subconscious as well, that has now come up to the fore. Now, as adults, when we get into our adulthood, whatever didn't bother us as kids would naturally start surfacing, okay? And this is very important. This is where the chakra systems are, because in my belief, our chakras, which starts off with the root, and again the sacral chakra, and here we've got the solar plexus, and we've got the heart, and we've got the voice box here, which is very important. They're all connected. Okay, they're all very much connected, and they all basically have to harmonize going up and down. It is really important. Okay, now also here we have the third eye, which is our thinking process, and I'm able to think and see clearly. And finally, often depicted as the color violet, but just so you can see, this is the chakra crown, also where we are connected to spirit, and we have a certain sense of spirituality. Very important. Okay, it's a oneness with the universe, and it allows us to be present. Now, when we've got lots of concerns and stuff, the first thing we do is we get over engaged in our head. We're not as embodied as we need to be, and we tend to split. Okay, which I also find is what you're happening. You're feeling very overwhelmed with your situation, and you tell me this by the fact that you're in your 50s, so I guess you're not as young, and everything seems harder, and it does become that way. You're working, so obviously you are very stretched out, and you know you're doing things, and you're coping with a menopause, which is also the change, was very much a sacral chakra and a root chakra. Okay, menopause. Now what happens in the menopause as well, we start noticing everything that perhaps we buried as well and had suppressed. Okay, when menopause comes, or even in the cycle, women's cycle, and people call the PMT being an issue, and the women start going barking mad, or start bringing things up, or things that, you know, people thought that was underneath, wrapped up the rug, comes out with vengeance and fiery, and, you know, women are being, you know, sort of called being on the rag, or, you know, whatever. It's because all along she has suppressed it, and the suppression of emotion tends to be around the hips, in our womb, in our reproductive organ area, which is all to do with your uterus and your ovaries, and all those areas, all these chakra, these elements of the energetics are where we hide and comes out, blaring out. Now with the menopause, you can't pretend anymore, okay? And that's also the PMT. So when people go mad, you are speaking your truth, but it comes out in a massive flare-up. All right, so the menopause also for you is a time of change, and change you must start breaking your habit. So coming back to the communication, I suggest that you actually communicate with your mother the truth. Now, if your mother is not going to actually accept the communication, because you know that she's going to A, butt in, override what you're saying, dismiss it as nonsense, or not give you the space to be heard, I really suggest that you write a letter to her, or something along those lines, okay? If she does email, maybe you want to do that. But I would suggest that you put pen to paper, because the act of writing, penmanship, is far more truthful, and that's when the soul speaks, okay? That's something you cannot really substitute for. So I recommend that you actually write it. And I also recommend it in your case that you might send it to her. Now this is a letter where you want to convey what needs to happen, so you need to actually write down possibly a list initially for yourself, how you'd like to be able to engage with her, and what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do, okay? And you must really know that the fact that you feel, I think you said, yeah, I think she wants the kind of daughter who phones her every day and invites her to go on holiday, which you'll find really horrendous. I would suggest that, you know, you don't have to do anything you don't want to do, and that again comes back to your power, okay? The fact that you're even wanting to compromise yourself, it tells me that you're not even in your power. You can be honest. You're in your 50s, okay? You're an adult now, and you're still acting as a child towards your mother. Yes, you are your mother's child, but you are no longer a child. But you're letting your child self dictate how you are with her, and this is very apparent to me, okay? And this happens to all of us. We're very caught up in dynamics that we are born into, and it's really, really hard to get out of. All right, so you've got to get out your sense of valueness, which again comes from your sacral chakra here. Okay, this is somewhere along the way you have made to feel quite small. You're probably told, you know, can you do this, do that, or if you don't do that, mummy won't love you. We've all been, you know, everyone's had that kind of upbringing back, you know, and if you're anyone in the 50s, 60s and 70s, believe me, this is the kind of upbringing you would have had, definitely in your 40s. I can tell you now that the younger kids and generation, they're definitely slightly differently raised, okay, with collectively moving away from that sort of dogma, disciplinarian type family, parent, tyrannical, all that really did exist, and it still does. But what happens is it really affects our way of being, because we've been informed already that we aren't good enough, and we have to actually claim our love from our parents by doing what they want us to do in order to be loved. Chances are your first marriage didn't work, and you don't say why, and it's not really the issue, but the chances are that there would have been a dynamic that you had married into that already existed within your sphere based on the upbringing you had from your parents. Okay, another thing I'd like to point out is, while your brother is sympathetic and he lives in the States, I'm afraid that's not good enough. Perhaps what you can, and maybe make a clear boundary, is that he has your mother. She's robust, she's 79, she's active and fit, so I'm sure she's able to fly, all right? So which means that she can go and stay with him, possibly, and his family for a little break, which will give you the break of feeling that you're the one who has to always be there for her. Now, I'm sure some kind of arrangement can be made, and I suggest you speak to your brother about this, whether it's a month initially to start with, so at least to give you a month's break, rather than you being the only carer and the holder of space for your mother in terms of family. Okay, so I will definitely put that in place as well. I feel that you've made a sacrifice clearly for a long time, and that naturally needs to be expressed Okay, I have a feeling that your mother also comes from a sense of neediness as well, and yourself, in order to be needed by your mother, you were always there for her in some way, and now it's become intolerable because you recognize that she's judgmental and negative, and also makes you feel guilty when you have a good time. Now, who wants to be around that kind of company? I know I wouldn't, and a lot of people wouldn't, so I don't blame you. So I really suggest that you give yourself a break. Don't feel so bad. Don't feel so guilty. Okay, now your guilt, I know, is more about that if you were to move away, because that's what you really feel like doing. But that is also a form of escape, and it doesn't actually solve the problem, because you'll be only worried about her when you're not there. And also what we'll do is probably create a big upheaval in your life if you were to be doing the moving. Okay, I don't think it's actually going to solve the problem whatsoever. So I really recommend that you take charge of yourself, communicate, really implement a list, if you like, or the actions you want to take regarding how you can put this in place. You may need some support, like I said, from either a coach, a therapist, or someone who does my kind of work, which combines both the therapeutic content in a coaching sense, but with the spiritual elements of the chakras. Okay, working with the chakras, and I'm just going to go to this male side. For the root chakra, you're going to feel that you create your own law. Okay, this is very important. You're creating your own tribal law. You've got to claim yourself to say, I make my law. All right. Now, on the sacral chakra, and these are the chakras, by the way, I'll be focusing on the meditation that gets put on in Vimeo for an extension for the actual healing and strengthening. But for the purposes of this video here, for the YouTube here, that I'm just going to go into bullet points. Now, with your sacral chakra, this is very important that you feel that you're able to interact in your relationships in a way that values you, and you have a harmonious relationship, which clearly you don't have with your mother, and this definitely needs healing. Very, very important. Okay, because this will help to work with the guilt factor, will eradicate the guilt, and also the sense of powerlessness, and releasing the hold that your mother has over you. This also will come to your solar plexus. Really important here, because these work up like in a scale. I'll maybe go black for now. Okay, this works up in a scale, so it's sort of, the energy goes up and the energy comes down. All right, really important in the chakra system. Now, this is a very raw drawing, okay, just to be as direct as I can be. Now, this work is very powerful, and it's very miraculous when you actually work with it in combination with the psychology of the issues, as well as the energetic blocks that we have in our system. Okay, I don't think your heart is the most affected, although there could be a love issue, but for the purposes of my Vimeo, I tend to only concentrate on 4 main ones. But if I were to talk about the heart, this is where you can also really sort of bring a sense of harmony back between your thinking and feeling. There's conflict here at the moment in your heart. I'm sure there's a part of you that does want to do good and show an act of kindness and love towards your mother, but you're also split in the thinking, because you feel that resentful, you feel that you're obligated and it's a duty, and all these things, many mean, and all of us at a certain point do find ourselves caught up in. All right, but we can, just to highlight this, so working with your heart might soften it, and you might feel that you can actually maybe sort of readdress the balance. I'd like to now skip up to the throat chakra here. This is where it's really important, where you actually speak up, like I already pointed out. Speaking up your truth is very important. I think this, to me, is one of the first factors you need to work on, okay? Followed by your sacral chakra. They're the two I see as the most wounded or imbalanced at this point anyway. Very, very important that you realize that those are 2 areas. I'll cover the tribal part, which will help your grounding, help the shift that you're making currently in your own life as well, through your physical change, as well as your energetic change. And I would say your throat. So that's your throat, solar plexus, sacral chakra, and your root chakra, and this is for everyone. Now, I'm not going to concentrate on the 7 chakras. If you want to know about the other chakras, there's lots of resources out there. You can always drop me a line as well through my newsletter. If you go to www.rafasabbagh.com, on the sidebar on the right hand side there is Be in the Know, and if you drop me a line or even on the contact page, automatically you'll be on the newsletter if you fill the Be in the Know box, but otherwise you can contact me and I will send you a PDF of the chakra chart with what it means, what it stands for, and how you can actually gain some alchemy back into your life, okay, by really sort of connecting with your chakras. So I really hope this has helped you in some way. I, like I said, would suggest that perhaps you get some counselling. Communication is key here, biggest factor here. And on top of this advice I've given you, I will also draw some cards out that will highlight possibly some of the deeper issues that's going on, and see what the cards also say, which is something I like to do, which is really fun to do. And you'll probably find here on somewhere on the screen that there's a clip of the card reading that follows on from this video. And for the longer version and explanation as well, you will find that on for a small fee on Vimeo that you can purchase. So if anybody wants to book for any of the problems they need, please do write in. And the first person that actually writes in from the date of the upload of this video, you will be the chosen candidate for me to share your problem or dilemma on the camera to YouTube, where I'll solve your problem, and you will get access to the free card reading as well. All right, and anybody else, if you actually need to book for a session, don't hesitate to contact me. I would love to work with you, and keep tuned, and thanks for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.